Okay, welcome to the Referral Challenge Q&A Mastermind call for Monday, June the 12th. Let's get right into it. Aaron's here with us, Aaron Lindauer. And so, Aaron, let us know how things are going and if there's anything in particular that we can help you with.
Let's see here. I mean, everything's moving along. One thing that I wanted to just almost share with the group is we've been kind of testing. We've always done a weekly blog post, and we've tested keeping it in the email and still posting it on our blog, keeping that going. But we historically now have had a response to every email just saying, hey, tell me more about your pricing, or hey, I want to get started, or it's a previous client. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is too good not to share with people, is keeping the content in the email. So I don't know if you guys have done anything like that.
Well, so as opposed to just putting like a teaser and then a link to your blog? Yeah. Interesting. And I'm trying to think of folks that I know there's quite a few people that do that. I mean, Pat Rigsby's a good example of that for sure. I don't know. One of the things that I've noticed he doesn't do, which I'd like to ask him about, is he doesn't seem to take all his emails and post them to his blog. I'm sure there's a strategic reason for that. I know he does some, but he doesn't do all of them. But yeah, I think that's great, because now it's like, you know, a barrier to entry or one more step that if they got to click something, it's just, you're going to clearly diminish the number of people that see all the content.
Yes.
So you're putting it in front of more people by putting it in your email.
Yeah, that was one thing that I was like, man, this is cool. And like you said, it's one less thing. So I don't, I was just like, man, really, it's that hard to click a link? But for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's amazing. Just the little thing, I mean, just another example is I've heard people say, I've never tested this myself, but I've heard people say that just on an opt-in form, removing the first name field and just asking for an email can dramatically improve the number of opt-ins you get. So it's a very small thing, but it can have a big impact. That's one of those tiny hinges that, can swing big. But talk about the type of stuff you're writing about, Aaron, in your blog.
It's anything from, right now we've really focused on why should I resistance train versus cardio? Because, it's summertime, everybody can get outside. And so that was one of those people all the time, or the misconception of a female, I'm going to get huge if I lift. Don't make me lift too much, just putting that kind of thing. So we try to keep it very, like, a little bit of science, but not too much. Just keep it very, elementary level, and enough to make people say, yes, I need help with resistance training. That's what I'm missing. Because we're trying to speak to the 40 to 60-year-old female. And for some of those females, they've never resistance trained. Or we'll keep it to nutrition. Very simple. Are you doing all the things for your nutrition? Do you understand macros? And just something like that may throw it out there and they say, oh, no, I don't understand my nutrition like you're saying. So it's very, I like to write bigger, all kinds of philosophy and thinking and things like that. But man, I'll tell you, when you keep it to the very basic, simple, resistance training, nutrition, cardio versus resistance training, those are the ones that we always get the most response. Does your fitness program include X? And are you missing one of the biggest links? Those are the emails that tend to pull people.
So this is really interesting. So, and I want to make a point. When I first started my email newsletter back in 1999 or 2000, whenever I got on the internet, one of the first thoughts that I had, this fear, was like, I'm going to run out of stuff to say, and then 20 some years later, or almost 20 years later, I have not even scratched the surface of all the things that I want to say. But but what I have found, and what you just illustrated with that story, perfectly, very, very smart, very big point here, is that there are certain things that absolutely resonate with people. And what one of our responsibilities is to, number one, determine what it is that resonates, as you have. And then number two, find different ways to tell that same story. And go back to that well, because we know that's what works. That's what people want to hear. We're still helping them. But so I guess the point is that you look at a blog or an email that you wrote, you say, hey, people really like this. What else can I tell them about this, or how can I dimensionalize this a little bit more, or how can I restate it? And that is really the optimization process of messaging and how you get better at it and get better response. Does that make sense?
It comes back to like what we talked about last Monday was, what's the problem? What problem are you solving? I think Aaron had mentioned that or something, and then tying some emotional, or you may have said it, but it's one of those things where it's always looking at that problem. And I've even just started really watching my email inbox. So I opted in somewhere along 5 or 6 weeks of not getting any sleep to a bunch of different sleep sites for kids. And now I'm on this lady's email list. And what's funny is I even opted out of her list, and then I opted back in, because I think at one point I got pissed because of the content, because I'm like, I'm doing all these things. But then, of course, I opted back in because she had good content. But I'm even watching her stuff now from a marketing eye, going, okay, she's trying to hit on problems that I potentially might be having at any stage of the game. And at one point, I wasn't ready for the content, and so that's what's interesting, to kind of watch someone else's marketing from this hat.
Oh, yeah.
And I even find myself still now clicking on certain things. So it's just, and Tony's the best at this. He's like, just get it out, just get the content out. Because it's constantly one of those things of, well, I don't have time to write a blog post. You actually don't have time not to write a blog post type of thing. And it's just a quick, put something out there. You never know. And I mean, the other, like coming back to that problem. So, just like me, having, under a year-old son, all the little things that could possibly go on. So we have to start thinking in the mindset of our ideal avatar. What's all the things that person struggles with? They don't understand resistance training. They don't understand nutrition, time. How do I make time to do this kind of stuff? And it's keeping it that simple. But like you said, how many different ways can we say it? Because you never know when it is actually going to meet someone at the right time. That's
where they are. Yeah, no doubt. It's that, what you just said is perfect. And it's all problem based. It's all, it's solving problems. That's what we're in the business to do. And so, one of the things that you can do that's helpful is, and this is in fact just a quick aside, Mike Fernandez was on the call last week, and he talked about this staff training system that he has that's really quite astonishing, and I was very impressed with the way when he described it. And I said, hey man, you ought to turn that into a product. And so he reached out to me and he said, yeah, I want to do that. What's the next steps? And I said, well, one of the first steps is describing the big, hairy problem, and being as detailed about it as you possibly can. But there are obviously many problems, and so it doesn't have to just be one problem, but that's the whole secret is dimensionalizing that problem. And somebody who does this really, really well is Perry Marshall. If you read any of his copy, it's like the earth is about to explode and everything is going to hell in a handbasket, but he does it in a way that's so eloquent, it sucks you in. But boy, does he build the problem.
Right.
Problem is huge. And one other thing, list them out. That's a great way to start, is just by brainstorming out all the different problems you can think of and then trying to organize them to some degree.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing is obviously listening to your clients and listening to what people say and asking them, trying to get some feedback. Aaron, Aaron Crocker, you do You're very good at doing the research, and you know when because you work in a lot of different, or have worked in a lot of different markets, and so you know if you're not familiar with something, you go out and research it. And I've heard you mention a couple times going on different forums and things like that. Have you ever found any really helpful like weight loss, fitness related forums where you can get good intel like that? I mean, obviously we should know most of this stuff, but it's always good to read it in the person's words, their own words. The person with the problem, that is.
Well, that kind of brings up another topic of discussion that you and I have been meaning to have with you about doing a complete segment on how I research, right? Mm-hmm. And basically what I call Amazon mining. Mm-hmm. And here's the Cliff Notes. Go out and find a best-selling book on the problem that you want to solve, right? In this case, weight loss. Go out and find the top best-selling weight loss products. Open up a spreadsheet. Create, positive statements, negative statements. Positive reviews, negative reviews, right? And then you simply walk through each book. It's a little bit on the labor-intensive side, but there's gold here, right? So you find a book. You open it up. You go to the reviews. Forget the contents of the book. Go to the reviews. You start looking, and the first thing I do is I go to the negative review, and I start finding out what people are frustrated about, what is ticking them off, what makes them angry, and I make notes of it in the negative comment section, right? And I'll do that for several different books. From there, then I'll go over to the positive side, and I'll find the most compelling promise, solution things, and I'll make a note of it. This is one of the many ways I do research, but it's an Amazon mining style research.
Yeah.
So you're just looking at the reviews after each book?
I just open it up. I find the best-selling book. You can go to the bestsellers, right? Mm-hmm. Type in, whatever, industry you're in. And oftentimes, listen, here's another big trick. I almost always jump outside of the fitness industry, mm-hmm. right? Because it is, when you stay in the fitness industry and everybody's doing what everybody else is doing, it's called marketing incest, right? And before you know it, everybody's dumber for it. Right? And so many of my best promotions came outside of the fitness industry. I went completely out of that industry and went into check this out, the automobile industry, the financial industry, right? Combat, right? Yeah. And I've reworked, refocused, and found a way to make it resonate. You heard that, didn't you? Resonate? You got it right.
You got it right, brother.
Well, you had it wrong a moment ago. You said resonate. It's resonate. But anyway, so if you're going to make marketing a career or a discipline within your business, you got to open your eyes to the horizon and get out of the fitness.
And when you say get out of fitness, so I mean, I can appreciate you're saying, and I mean, help me better understand. You're pulling the problems, or you're pulling the pain points and pulling it into fitness, or how are you?
Yeah, that's right. So I will go to the fitness industry, find a book, and weight loss. Let's say, for example, I wrote a whole 50-page report for Paul Fetters one time, all right, called Menopause and Metabolism. And so I went to Amazon. I hunted down the books that were hot on menopause and metabolism, and I began to search what was bugging ladies, right, about this problem. And so ultimately, my opening sentence in the report, and I'll butcher this, but it went something like this, to the effect of, it may feel more like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse than a natural change of into a more rewarding life. Vaginal pain, hot flashes, this, that, and the other. I named all 4 things, right? Because that's where I found their problems, right? I found out what ladies were saying, and I put it into a powerful opening statement and built out 50 pages from there. So it's like Eric said, and you said this morning, it's market's a problem. Mm-hmm. It's not female gender specific. It is in this case, but I went to the female, gender in the sense of trying to hunt down menopause, what they were saying, but it was the problem of menopause. Right. Inside the gender, right? And so that's really how I do my research, and especially if I'm in a blistering hurry, right? That's almost always the way I'll do it.
Gotcha.
The question about looking at other markets, though, Aaron, I think that what Aaron Crocker was getting at, and correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, but this is is looking not so much for the problems in other industries, because those don't apply to the fitness industry, but looking for the big idea or the hook or the mechanism that they're using to communicate a problem, the way that that's, when I was a political fundraising copywriter, the guy that I worked for was a legend in the industry. He was one of the greatest of all time. And he would very, very emotional dude. And he would rant and rave. We'd get in these meetings and he'd rant and rave at us. I mean, literally just yelling and throwing things. And, you guys got to be better. And he'd always talk about the idea. And he would say, the big idea is everything. You have to find that idea. And that's what a lot of people struggle with, is a fresh, compelling way to convey a problem that's existed forever, basically. Instead they just default to the simple, easy way by doing what Aaron said, which is copying what other people are doing.
Right. Yeah. So just thrown out. Yeah. Cause you can even, just if you start really opening your eyes and watching even the heating and cooling, like there's a guy that follows Dan Kennedy here in Indianapolis. Cause I just die. Cause every time I see his advertisement, I'm like, I want to do business with you just because you do good marketing. Yeah. But like you can start telling and, obviously mimicking what they did into your marketing. So I can appreciate where you come from other looking at other platforms, or not platforms, but types.
Right. Other industries, other categories.
Or industries, yeah. Sorry.
Here's a perfect example. So yesterday I'm at a restaurant having lunch after church, and I've got my pastor across the seat from me and his wife, my wife beside me. And I can't hardly even look at this guy because my eye is glued on the TV above him. And it was an infomercial. And it was an infomercial about a yard blower, right, that both blows and sucks. And they call it Works Air, right? WORX, air.
Right.
I was just freaking sucked in by how they took this ordinary object and completely built out a 30-minute infomercial around a blower, right? I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm going, you know what? That right there could be so used in the fitness industry. I'm going to freaking knock it off.
Yeah.
Right? And so that is how you look into another industry and just see the psychology, right? You see how they dimensionalize the product, and how they come at it from literally a 3D, 5D area. I mean, they're coming at it from every possible conceivable way to build value. And so they're blowing and they're sucking out. They're putting on extensions and they're blowing out the car and they're blowing under a rug under the front door. And I mean, you name it, they have built it. And I'm sitting there going, here's all that would take to make it fitness oriented. All you would have to do is turn around and demonstrate a hamstring curl or a Romanian style deadlift, and then show how the power of the hamstring helps you climb stairs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, related that. Yeah. And
that kind of thing, and just build it out.
Yeah, that's good. Because we could even turn that into a video series of hey, here's different movements for the hamstring, but here's actually why you would want your hamstring. Why on earth would I even want to worry about this? But here's the activities of daily living that you do day in and day out that you may take for granted as to why you would use that. I could see that.
That's right.
Yeah, and you complement that with really significant problem building, like demonstrating what happens, or not demonstrating, but maybe showing what happens when when you lose strength. Maybe you fall down the stairs, or you can't. I don't know, you break a hip, whatever. I mean, just really in painful ways, showing how dangerous it can be. Obviously, that's going to be pertain more to an older demographic. So there's, you got to adjust based on your needs. But I think the illustration that Aaron just gave is a good one.
Yes,
it's helpful.
It's great.
This is good conversation. This is good stuff to hear. And I'll just end it with this, is that all the great marketers, all the great copywriters in particular, do tremendous amounts of research and talk about the importance of the research as, the step one. And it's usually almost always the step that mediocre or low-level copywriters never do. And they just don't do the research. And that's, part of the problem is doing the research and finding, because it's the problem. It's those problems and the way that you can dimensionalize and explain those problems, and so that they resonate.
Gotcha.
Anyway, go ahead. You have
one other. Oh, sorry.
No, I want to come back to you, Aaron, with a couple of questions on your email and blog. First of all, how long is your normal email?
It is here. What are these emails? I don't think they're more than 1,000 words.
Okay. So that's long copy for an email, right? You take times font, shrink it down to 12 points. 20 words, 320 words go on a page, right? And
right.
So you got 1,000 words, you got 5-6 pages of copy in an email. And
you know what? The last one was 560. So I would tell you that 1,000 would probably be the most. But
yeah. So even at that, you're looking at almost 2 pages typewritten or printed out. Right. So read that on the screen. So I think it speaks clearly to a concern so many people have that nobody will read it, right? Because it's long. Second thing I wanted to make mention of was, I love the idea of the fitness industry is magic in this sense. It is a renewable resource, right? You said you went on to this email, you turn around and you went off that lady's email, you canceled it, you opted out, but then you opted back in, right? And because, you had a renewing need. This is the fitness industry, right? That's a renewable resource. Everybody is in and out of wanting to get in shape, and they'll get in shape and they'll fall out and they'll want to get back in shape. And so you're right when you say you never know when people are going to need your message.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like Gary Halbert talks about the moving parade, and that's you have to be. It's the same thing Seth Godin says when he talks about top of mind awareness. You have to stay in front of people, and hopefully you earn that. I mean, you have to earn that right basically with every email, because they have the decision at the end of the email: am I getting value, or should I hear and unsubscribe? So you've got to earn that right. But if you're good at earning that right to stay in front of them, stay top of mind, then you continue to put those offers out there, and people will take you up on it. And even more importantly, as importantly, respond to you and get develop relationship, feel like they know you. So it's all good. I'm saying this more for other people's benefit than for yours, Aaron. I know you understand all this stuff. How frequently are you emailing?
Once a week.
Okay. All right. Have you thought about increasing that?
Yes. It's just doing it. It's honestly, it's truly and sincerely, if we would just block, and Tony does such a good job at this, because a lot of times he'll just send me and then I just kind of read through it. And then we get it set to go. But it's one of those things, like if we would just block that hour and just write, early in the morning, knock it out. Like you said, have that hit list of ideas, and then you can just run with it, because one will kind of build to the next, and, part one of a 3 series, or just things like that, get the ball rolling. And so I think, if you could get it to if you could do 2 times a week, that would be really awesome. But
let me give you a plan for how to do that. And so I think if you stick with focusing on writing one really good new article, as you're doing now, email, let's say, that you also use as a blog article every week, that's great. And that becomes your primary email content creation. But then what you do, you've been in business for a long time. You've written a lot of emails. Go back and repurpose some of that old content. Take some of those other things, find the ones, and ideally you have statistics. So you have, and yes. you have open rates and things like that you can look at, and just pick out 20 or 30 of your best previous emails and queue those up, not in your Infusionsoft or whatever, but just in a document on your desktop, and order them and just say, hey, this is going to be my secondary email for the next 20 weeks or something. And there in a few hours, you'll have the content squared away for adding an additional touch, which is going to give you a second opportunity each week to generate new business. And so that would be a good plan, I think.
Yeah, I didn't even think about going back, because there's a lot of content.
There is a lot, I'm sure. And I'm sure you'd be surprised. I know I always am. When I go back and read some of my old emails, some of them I cringe at. I'm like, oh my God. But then there are some where I'm like, this is really good, and I know I got to do something with that content.
Or it's some of those motivational emails, that daily email that, like when we do a challenge or something, if I'd go back and expand those just a little bit more, you could have a whole year of stuff, just because those challenges are typically 6 to 8 weeks. And if you spread those out, that will last you a few months.
Oh yeah. And you know what? Here's another thing, since we're talking about email, there's the guy who, and I'm going to forget his name again, but the guy who created ConvertKit, which is the email autoresponder that I use, or email marketing service that I use.
Mm-hmm.
Very sharp guy, really impressive, young guy too, and he's doing huge numbers now. He interesting side note, he publishes his monthly revenue. He shares it with everybody that's a member. He's like, here's what we did last month, here's how many new people we added, and he shows you his monthly revenue. Last time I looked at it about 6 months ago, he was up around $200,000 a month with this young kid. It's impressive. But anyway, the point I want to make is he talks about the value of building out really significant autoresponder sequences. And Perry Marshall talks about this as well. And what this guy says, and I'm pissed that I can't remember his name. He says basically, so that here's the process. Say you're starting from scratch, you're just new into business. So of course you've got to write fresh content. So you're writing a daily or a weekly email, but after about 10 weeks or whatever, those 10, 15 weeks, you now have 10 to 15 good emails. So what you do is you go back and you take those 10 to 15 emails and you plug them into your autoresponder sequence. So now every new lead you get is queued up to get those 15 emails, whether you create a new email or not. But obviously you're going to continue to create new emails as well and push those out. So now they're getting 2 touches a week. They're getting the autoresponder plus the new touch. So I think it's an interesting strategy. It's one that I have not done myself, but I want to do and working on doing. Because as we talked about before, you've got great content. People aren't necessarily seeing it because they might go to your blog and read it, but if they're not going to your blog to read it and they opt in today, they've missed all that content you put out over the last few years.
Right. Yeah. And I saw Ben Davis had me opt into a couple of different people's lists just to kind of see how they're doing it, because he said they're doing it well. And I was thinking just the other night, I was driving home from the office and I got this email from these two women that he had me get on their list. And it was what's for dinner. And then it was a recipe. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I literally was on my way to the grocery store. I didn't particularly use that recipe, but I was like, what a smart thing to do at, 4:30, 5 o'clock, set that email to go. I mean, people are going to appreciate that and go, oh, and just think if you did that weekly, I mean, that's huge.
And I think that's beautiful. And how about this? If you have 20 recipes or something that you like, why not do a Wednesday evening recipe email, and start training your customers to know that that's coming every Wednesday. And you've got the recipe, and then at the bottom of it, maybe you do an offer for a nutrition program.
Exactly. Ah, my gosh.
Yeah, and then you queue that up, so it's going out automatically. There's your third touch for the week.
Yes. No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's not so simple, right? Just freaking do it.
Yeah, but the key is, right, as you said, for me personally, the key to doing something like that is to blocking a significant block of time, 4 or 5 hours on a weekend or whatever, whenever you can fit it in, and just banging that whole project out right then and there.
Right, because it's only 52 recipes if you really think about it.
Yeah, you could do, that's right, a whole year's worth. And so maybe it takes you 2 days, but at least it's done. You're not letting it linger on, is what I'm getting at.
Right. Yep.
I think that's great. And, you could just think how you could take that further too. Like, for instance, if you've got exercise demonstration videos or something like that that you've created in the past, you could do one of those a week where you're just, boom, it's just, hey, here's this week's key exercise, and you send them the video or link to the video.
Right. Yep.
Well, and to that point, Erica, here's the great missed opportunity among functional trainers nowadays. And that is, they should take a fresh look at the throwback of the old bodybuilding courses, right? Where they go, this is a shoulder course, and that's all. And they sold it.
Right.
This is a bicep course, and they sold the bicep. And this is a tricep course, and they sold it. And they segmented the body out into different body parts and made a fortune, right? And so there is no good reason why trainers, even functional trainers, aren't doing that very thing. We know, ladies, that you'd like to cap off your shoulders. Here is one of the great ways you can start doing that.
Right.
Right? And just make the email nothing but shoulders.
Right.
Or the lateral head of the shoulder. This week, we're going to be talking about the lateral head of the delt, or the shoulder. We're going to show you how to cap it off. Next week, we're going to be talking about the front, where it looks really great when they, and if you really want to be impressive, wait until you turn your back and they see the back of your shoulder. We'll be talking about that in week 3.
And what you just said is so beautiful. And I'm making a note because I got to make sure people know to watch this. Because here's the thing. And what you would do with that is you get a couple pictures of celebrities who are people who have really nice backs and shoulders, ideally recognizable people. So that's why I say celebrity. And you'd say, hey, do you want shoulders like Jennifer Aniston or whoever it is?
Exactly.
And then you show them in this slinky black dress or whatever, showing off their shoulders. And then it becomes, obviously, the consumer is like, I want that. And they focus on it. And another point, because what you said is so awesome, Aaron, is that the two guys who I know of who've done have created the biggest information marketing businesses. They're not, personal trainers, right? But the two biggest information marketers in the fitness industry that I know of, Mike Geary, his business I think does something like 15 million a year, something along those lines. It's just huge. The name of his business was Six Pack Abs. It was all focus on the abdominals. And then the other dude who just pisses me off, because every time I want to watch a YouTube video, I see a stupid ads, is that the Asian guy who also focused on abs, I forget the name of his business, but he's a pretty well-known a YouTube guy. But they did that, and I think if you were to focus on butts, you know, whatever body part you want, abs, I mean the sexiest ones for sure, I think, that's huge. And you know, I think one of the reasons, I just add one more thing, I think one of the reasons sometimes fitness professionals don't do that is because of a strong sense of ethics, where they feel like, hey, you can't really target a body part. It's a holistic process. And if you want these beautiful shoulders or beautiful abs, you got to hit it all. You got to do heavy squats and all this stuff, you know, to get that. And so I think that sometimes gets in the way, because you can still help people focusing by getting them to focus on wanting great shoulders. That can draw them into adapting a more holistic approach to health. So it's just another avenue in, which is sort of goes back to the whole big idea thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. And making yourself the expert too, because when you put out good content and people obviously listen and watch for a certain amount of time, because we've had people on our list from 2010 that just now buy, or they bought in 2010 and now they buy again. And it still kills me. I'm just like, wow, you've been on our list a long time.
Yeah.
And they'll even say that. They'll say, man, I've been just reading your emails. And I'm like, really, all this time? Like, I mean, that's pretty cool. So
it is, and it's a testament to you, and hopefully you take it that way. Not that you weren't able to convert them earlier, but that they stayed with you and they're loyal and they believe in you and trust you.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That's
sorry.
No, I was just saying that's a big deal. That's one of the things that gives me the greatest pride, is that so many of the people that are with me today were with me years ago. You know, and I think that's a nice thing. But so anyway, I think the whole email marketing, there's so much opportunity there, but obviously it's a decent amount of work. But I think we just outlined a strategy for you and others watching to move forward and increase frequency without diminishing quality, and in fact tapping into things that people are more potentially as interested in, which is a more targeted message. The recipes, a specific recipe of a specific body part exercise or something along those lines. Also the repurposing of content you've already created, and then continuing to create new content like you do once a week.
And what was with the copy being between 500 1,000? I know, Aaron, you were mentioning, you know, hey, see, these are like 1,000. Do you guys think keep them long?
So if you look at, you can verify this for yourself and look at anybody, but all you have to do is go to Google and type in the most shared blog posts or links. And they're always between 1,500 and 2,500 words long.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Because length is detail. The more detail, the better, as long as it's not boring.
Boring, right.
I use a plugin on my website. It's called Yoast SEO, which if you're using a WordPress site, you want to use it. It's the best out there. And it's so good because it prompts you and educates you about what needs to be done for effective SEO. And one of the things that I was just looking at, because it's all, I'm learning all the time, I was just in there updating something on one of the sites, and I saw that they had this option in the SEO section of a post, a page that I was creating. It queried me. It said, is this cornerstone content? And there's a little checkbox that I could click or not. And I'm like, what does that mean? So I clicked on the cornerstone content link, and then Yoast gives you this whole explanation of what cornerstone content is. And they said, essentially, this is your best content, something that you really want to draw attention to. And by clicking cornerstone, we send out this special signal to Google, which makes them spider you, blah, blah, blah. I don't all that stuff. But what he was saying in this article is beyond the SEO element, or as part of the SEO element, is that your cornerstone content needs to be a minimum of 12 to 1,500 words. And you know, the longer, the better, as Aaron said. It's just key. So, yeah, I think, I mean, and there's always the old adage that the more you tell, the more you sell. As long as it's not boring, you'll do better with longer copy.
Okay, good. It's awesome. And you said that plugin was called what?
Yoast, Yoast SEO. So that's absolutely the plugin you want to be using for your SEO if you're on WordPress.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So that was great stuff. Aaron, anything else that you want to discuss?
No, I mean, I'm I need to get a lot of things done. Yeah. So I guess just a big picture question, and this may be a loaded, so don't feel like, is this something that we're going to be able to say, hey, referral partner, you really want to get on board with these guys so that they have all these tools and things? Is that kind of the grand vision of the referral?
You mean like, would you refer your partners to the referral challenge?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, part of
or is that
yeah. So I'll explain to you the strategy is going to be this, or is this, and that is to position you as the keeper of the secrets. So you as the co-founder of Local by Referral, your local chapter, what we're doing is when they come into the funnel, when they opt in to consider Local by Referral, we're educating them about the cool things that we're doing and how they work, but not giving them all the stuff, just sort of showing them the benefits of it. And then if they're interested, if they're like, hey, that's something I want to do, then they have to apply to you to be one of your partners.
Okay.
If you accept them, which, most likely you will, anybody that's going to take the effort to apply, unless they're just knuckleheads, you accept them, and then you start implementing the processes, and almost everything will run through Locomotive. So I'm not going to get into too many details here, but so you are the keeper of the secrets, but you educate them once they agree to participate, and then you implement. You guys implement the stuff. Now, if the other side of it is one of the things Aaron and I were discussing, and we think we're going to do, it's just a matter of time, is make everybody who's a Local by Referral co-founder, the founder of their local chapter, an affiliate for the referral challenge. So you can say, we don't expect you to push anything, but if people say, hey, I want to learn more about how to be a better referral marketer internally, because I'm doing this partner stuff with you and you're helping me with that, but I want to work on my own business internally, then you can say, hey, well, here's the best resource I know of, and just give them the link, and you can make a little bit of extra cash as a result. But what that's going to require is that Aaron and I build out a generic version of the referral challenge that's not fitness specific. So it's a little ways down the road, but that's the ultimate vision for it.
Okay. No, that's good. I like big picture and kind of can dial it. So
yeah. What I don't want to do, and I never would do, is make the participation in something like Local by Referral contingent upon you being a shill for my products, where you gotta say, hey, you gotta buy this if that's just not how I would operate or how Aaron operates, and so we wouldn't do that. We just want people to succeed, because we know that you succeeding and your partner succeeding will ultimately allow us to succeed, and we're
right. Cool. Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well then, Aaron Crocker, anything else you want to add?
No, but Aaron, you killed it today. This is good, man. You brought the heat.
Thanks. Well, we'll have more like specific referral, because that's my thing, is I've been rewatching videos and I want to get into, I'm sure some of these discussions you guys probably want to stick to some of this content, right? Or is it meant to go any direction?
Yeah, any direction you guys want. We're just here to help and support. And I think, so whatever you want to talk about, and I'm just glad you brought up the whole email marketing, because that stimulated a great conversation. We just outlined a great path forward, I think, for you and for others. So I'm going to encourage everybody in the group to watch this video.
Good. Awesome.
All right, very good. Well, then let's wrap it up. Aaron, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate it. Give Tony our best, and again, happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, see ya.
Bye.